Hey everybody, the Super Beta 400 here, the brown skinned human, and of course Douglas Blair Roberts coming back at you with another video game series of video game playthrough reviews. And this time this will be a series of Mortal Kombat 3, 4, and 3 and 4 reviews, followed by Defenders of the Realm cartoon tie-in reviews. The first two videos uploaded will be Mortal Kombat, will be my late out of date reviews of Mortal Kombat 3 and 4. Recorded the video gameplay footage back in summer of this year, but I'm just now doing the intro due to various computer problems I had during the fall up until rather recently. So these will be late. Then my most recent webcam video game playthroughs, tie-ins of the video games Mortal Kombat 3 and 4, followed by the Defenders of the Realm cartoon. I love to watch Mortal Kombat Defenders of the Realm and play Mortal Kombat 3 and 4 and the other Mortal Kombats simultaneously while I'm watching them. So that's what I'll be doing in this video, and episodes of the Defenders of the Realm will be playing in the background. So with that being said, let's get started right now. We can do whatever we want if we put our minds to it.
Shang Tsung. Liu Kang. Kano.
I want to be Kano and Striker when I get older. My bad. Let me speak. Hey everyone, it's time for part 2. Time for the third part of my Mortal Kombat 3 video game playthrough review and Defenders of the Realm cartoon webcam tie-in review. I'll play Mortal Kombat 3 while I review it and also review the cartoon, which will be playing in the background. Since this is since I'm playing a tournament ladder with Sub-Zero. I've just defeated Shang Tsung, Cyrax, Cabal, and I think and Cabal and Liu Kang are the characters I've just recently defeated. I'm now fighting Sindel, about to fight Kano, and then the character Sub-Zero actually encounters in his chapter in Tournament Ladder, and that of course is I defeated Cyrax. The second one is the head Lin Kuei cyborg Sector. I'm playing Master level, and I'm playing the original, the first Mortal Kombat 3. Now, now that I've said all that, let's get started right now. The episodes that will play in the background are episodes 4, 5, and 6. These are the closest to Sub-Zero's storyline, especially episode 5, which is a straight adaptation of Sub-Zero's storyline. It was the Mortal Kombat 3 series and 2 that got me into Mortal Kombat. The very first one I played was the third one, Mortal Kombat Trilogy for the N64. A friend of mine had this game and I played it and I've been a huge fan ever since. When I finally got my own console, the Sega Genesis, my very first console, there was no trilogy. There was no Mortal Kombat trilogy for the Sega Genesis. Instead, it was Mortal Kombat 3 and the update Ultimate Mortal Kombat 3, which brought back the ninja characters and some brand new ones, and made Striker's BB gun playable. And when it comes to the Mortal Kombat series, the Mortal Kombat 3 series, I think the one I'm playing right now, Mortal Kombat 3, I think this one was the best. This one's the best. It had a smaller, more balanced roster. And a much more consistent storyline in comparison to the sequels, and a much better and much easier tournament ladder. Even though the game is still hard and still have no mercy on novice based players. But yeah. And this was the only one I could beat. This is the only one I can actually beat without any form of enhancements. And going back to the storyline and ladders is more consistent here. One thing I couldn't stand about the updates was that they brought back the endurance match, which not only do I hate from a story narrative standpoint, but I hate from a gameplay standpoint. I can understand why they had him in the first one, because there was only 7 characters, whereas here there's only there's like 16 combatants, so there's no need for an endurance match. Another thing I like, if you play I think I like all versions, with the PlayStation version being the best, because it's the closest to the arcade. The cool storyboard cutscenes you saw in the beginning and in at the game. I hate the fact that the updates due to memory constraints had to get rid of those. Now, as a kid, when I played this, I hated that the other ninja characters, Johnny Cage and Baraka and Raiden, were not in this game. Not in this game. I like Mortal Kombat 3 better than Mortal Kombat 2, but that was the only thing I always thought that was better about Mortal Kombat 2 versus this one. But I'm glad, but as an adult, now that I understand the storyline better and see why those characters weren't here, it doesn't bother me. But I'm glad they brought them back in the updates, especially the ninja characters, because they're kind of like the best characters storyline-wise in the game. Another thing, while being the same as Mortal Kombat 1, that was the main problem. I like Mortal Kombat better in 3D. It's much easier, and much better gameplay in my opinion. However, much better, the 2D with live action actors recorded over a hand drawn and later CGI background. Yeah, that was cool in the early to mid 90s, but that was cool early to mid 90s and only in the first game. For for the sequels, they definitely should have tried 3D. They definitely should have tried 3D. But one thing I like about this game added a run button, made the gameplay faster, much more aggressive. Added a run button, and added cool Killer Instinct, hyper, ultra style combos, which you saw me doing, and those are needed to win. Those are needed to win. When I was younger, I sucked at this game. It wasn't until I got to play the much easier sequel, Mortal Kombat 4. Mortal Kombat 4, where I was able to master that game, and then eventually return to the original three, and Mortal Kombat 1 and 3, Mortal Kombat 1 and 3, the original Mortal Kombat 3, the PlayStation version of trilogy are the only ones, are quote unquote the only ones I can actually beat. Ultimate Mortal Kombat 3 on the Sega Genesis, I've only beaten once. On the Sega Genesis and Super Nintendo, I've only beaten once. And Mortal Kombat 2, I could not beat that. I had to use an invincibility cheat code. An invincibility cheat code which allowed me not to take damage as I fought myself through the ladder and beat everyone.
What's that got to do with Kid Hunter? It affects all of you. In that realm is a sacred scimitar that contains the power to destroy the strongest
The favorite characters to play as are Sub-Zero, Cabal, Striker, Nightwolf, Sindel, the Lin Kuei Cybers, Sector, Cyrax, and Smoke, who's a hidden character in this game. Liu Kang, Kung Lao, Shang Tsung, and of course Shang Tsung and Shiva. Even though when it comes to Shang Tsung and Shiva, I like fighting them more than I like playing as them. These are my favorites. I listed Sub-Zero, Cabal, and Striker in them first because one thing I don't like about this game, when it comes to Liu Kang and Kung Lao, those are two of the main characters and the only two characters who in the storyline portion of this game actually fight kind. Yet they have the worst combos in the game. When they're two of the most powerful characters in the game, they have the worst combos, and you need those cool combos to win.
Shao Kahn's plan cannot succeed.
Tana, are you sure you can trust him?
Next, I like the music. Instead of the Asian Oriental styles of the previous one, this has more upbeat. Hard rock and hip hop style of music to fit this new post-apocalyptic based storyline. This interdimensional post-apocalyptic storyline this video game had. And as such, the gameplay, while being the same, is faster, more aggressive, and the storyline is and the storyline and tone of the game, well, not the storyline so much, but yeah, the storyline and tone of the game is much darker than the previous two. The storyline of this game picks up. The storyline of this game picks up where the last Mortal Kombat left off. Liu Kang in the realm of Earth defeated Shao Kahn in Outworld. And quickly returned to Earthrealm. To prepare for the upcoming invasion. Shao Kahn, fed up with multiple losses in Mortal Kombat, decides to enact a 10,000-year-old plan. A 10,000-year-old plan where he resurrects Kitana's dead mother and Queen of Edenia, Sindel, with He gets Shang Tsung and his priest to resurrect Kitana's dead mother, and Queen of Edenia Sindel to and opens a portal and strips all humans of their soul. Strips all humans of their soul and except for the 7 chosen warriors, and sends his extermination squads to the Centaur and several other fighters to quote unquote eliminate him. Multiple characters have no reason for participating in the great battle for Earthrealm, but the storyline mostly revolves around the storyline mostly revolves around Liu Kang and Kung Lao with Sub-Zero and the rest, with Liu Kang, Kung Lao, Sub-Zero, Sonya, and Jax, with the rest of the characters having important and big roles too. Big roles in the storyline. Too. Returning characters include Liu Kang. Returning characters includes Liu Kang, Kung Lao, Sonya Blade, Sub-Zero, only he's unmasked in this game. My favorite Sub-Zero right here with the suspenders and the unmasked and Scarlet. My favorite Super Sub-Zero. Then Smoke as a cyborg, Jax, and of course Sonya are the returning characters, as is Shang Tsung. New characters include the female farm Shao Kahn warrior Shiva, who I was just recently fighting. The other Lin Kuei Cybers, Cyrax and Sector, Sindel, Kitana's dead mother and Queen of Edenia, Night Wolf, the Indian shaman, Striker, the police officer and least popular character in Mortal Kombat. Who else? Oh yeah, Cabal, the former reformed Black Dragon member, and of course Kano also returns from Mortal Kombat 1 and 2. Like I said, there are several storylines. In Liu Kang's storyline, he looks to not only liberate Earthrealm from Shao Kahn's grasp, but also wants to free Edenia from Shao Kahn's grasp. And the way to do that is to defeat Shao Kahn to undo the merger. So yeah, Kung Lao and Liu Kang train a new generation of Mortal Kombat fighters, but that is put on hold when Kung Lao decides to challenge Shao Kahn alone. He fights and puts up a good fight, but is no match for Khan and is beaten severely and nearly thought to have been killed. But he shows up in the next game, reveals that he somehow survived this battle, and Liu Kang utilizes this motivation to confront and defeat Shao Kahn. To confront on top of the roof with the Dragon Punch. Sub-Zero in his storyline, one of my favorite, the best storyline, Sub-Zero storyline. In the last game, Sub-Zero and Smoke, the Lin Kuei decides to set their warriors up for automation, transforming them into cyborgs. Sub-Zero and Smoke refuse and try to escape. Sub-Zero escapes with Smoke. Sub-Zero with Smoke is not so fortunate. He is caught and automated and forced and programmed to hunt down his best friend. Sub-Zero confronts Smoke and makes him remember their vow never to fight each other, and helps Smoke reclaim his soul and override his programming, and assists him in the battle against Cyrax and Sector. He then reprograms Cyrax to fight the Emperor, but Cyrax gets trapped in Jade's desert.
gets trapped in Jay's desert, and assists the rest of the Earthbound warriors in defeating Shao Kahn's extermination squads. In Sonya's and Jax's storyline, Jax, he entered the previous Mortal Kombat tournament to rescue both Sonya and Kano. Kano, knowing he would be arrested, decided to escape into a portal in Outworld. Sonya eventually finds and confronts Kano for the final confrontation on top of the roof. But before that, Kano forms a partnership with Shiva. Kano forms a quote-unquote partnership. Kano forms a partnership with Shiva, but tricks her and beats up with Khan before they can both assassinate Shao Kahn. And Shao Kahn either kills or imprisons Shiva. Is not really known for her betrayal, and Kano convinces Khan to spare his life. Claiming that he could teach Outworld warriors how to use Earthbound technology. But before the assassination attempt can happen, Kano fights Sonya in the fight. Kano fights Sonya in the final battle, where Sonya wins, tossing him off the roof and nearly killing him. But he is found by a bloody Botaro, and this is where the Shiva storyline begins, where Botaro finds him, but then imprison him for failure. And Shiva ambushes and kills Botaro. Then they form their pact. They form a pact to assassinate Shao Kahn. But before that could happen, Kano gets to Shao Kahn before Shiva betrays her, by letting Shao Kahn know of Shiva's betrayal, and Shiva is killed or imprisoned by Shao Kahn. Jax gets these cybernetic arms. This is the game where he debuts his cybernetic arms. He gets the arms to assist him in the great battle to stop Shao Kahn. He uses this power to defeat Shao Kahn's extermination squads. And afterwards, him and Sonya find the Outworld Investigation, leave Special Forces to find the Outworld Investigation Agency. Then, in Liu Kang's, then in Nightwolf's storyline, he's a shaman who's for years seen visions of this upcoming battle, and provides a sacred patch of land, reclaims and provides a sacred patch of land for the warriors to take refuge from Shao Kahn's extermination squads, and assists the Earthbound warriors in defeating and liberating Shao Kahn, and liberating Earthbound from Shao Kahn and his extermination squads. Stryker is the only cop from his unit to survive the Soul Purge. And he receives a vision from Raiden to meet with the other Earthbound warriors, and he meets up with them and assists in defeating Khan and his extermination squads, before returning to his unit in the next game and not appearing again until Mortal Kombat Deception and Armageddon. Cabal, in the most tragic storyline from this game, is betrayed by the Black Dragon and horribly scarred by Outworld forces, and decides to reform and become a force of good, and join Earthbound warriors in getting revenge on the Black Dragon, but also liberating Earthbound from Shao Kahn and his extermination squads. Sindel's storyline, she is resurrected and has her soul corrupted by Shao Kahn to serve and obey him, and hunt down and kill Kitana and Earthrealm's warriors. Kitana, Nightwolf, who appears to be beefing with Sindel in this game. Earthrealm warriors encounter, fight Sindel, and make her remember who she previous was and help her, and she assists in bringing an end to Shao Kahn's reign. And after Shao Kahn is defeated, rebuilds Aditya, after Shao Kahn is defeated and Aditya is separated from Outworld, rebuilds Aditya and undoes the harm Shao Kahn caused during his time as ruler of Outworld and Aditya. Shang Tsung, I told you his story at the beginning. He doesn't do much in the game. Except resurrect Sindel. But if you beat the game with him, Shao Kahn, for failure in the previous two Mortal Kombats, prepares to steal his soul. But Shang Tsung learns of this and betrays the Emperor portrays and ambushes and kills the Emperor and takes all the souls Shao Kahn consumed all the souls Shao Kahn consumed and takes them for himself. Shiva, I mentioned her storyline. Shiva and the Centaur Shiva, Motaro, and the Centaur, the Shao Kahn and the Centaur are fierce rivals, and the Shao Kahn, after failure in the previous two Mortal Kombat tournaments, fall out of favor with Shao Kahn, and he has Motaro and his Centaur. Lead his forces into battle to kill Earth's extermination squads, appoints them generals, and Shiva then forms the pact with Kano to assassinate Shao Kahn. I told you her story from there. Her story from there. And so yeah, that's the storyline. And I mentioned the playable characters, and returning as boss characters include Shao Kahn. Includes the sub-boss Motaro, leader and general of the Centaurian general of Shao Kahn's army, one of my favorite and coolest bosses ever. And then you got the main antagonist himself, Shao Kahn, his final stand. This and Mortal Kombat Annihilation, in my opinion, were the last times Shao Kahn Annihilation, the movie, and Mortal Kombat Conquest, the television series, was the last time Shao Kahn was badass. After this, he wasn't so fearsome and was hard to take seriously. He's even worse in the newest timeline. Next, not only do I like the cast of characters, I like the character skins and the cast of actors and actresses. You got John Turk taking over the role of Sub-Zero and the ninjas, because the previous Sub-Zero, Daniel Pacino, who also famously played Shao Kahn, and who also famously played Johnny Cage in the previous games, was fired from Midway for posing for another rival video game, I think called Bloodstorm, something like that. Hold on, I gotta turn my television back on. I hate it when it does this. Sorry about that. Anyway, let me continue. And then other characters like Ho-Sam Pak. Oh yeah, I'll get to that later. But yeah, he takes over the role for Sub-Zero, later the ninjas in the update Ultimate Mortal Kombat 3, and Shang Tsung in this game. Then you got Sal DeVita, who portrays Nightwolf, and the Lin Kuei Cybers, Sector, Cyrax, and Smoke. Then you got Carrie Hopkins replacing Elizabeth Malecki, something like that, from the previous Mortal Kombat games. She left, I think, because of I think it was either a lawsuit or a pay dispute. I don't remember why she left, but she was replaced by Carrie Hopkins, who I think it's way cooler. Mortal Kombat 3 Sonya's. Mortal Kombat 3 1 and 2 are my favorite Sonya's. Followed by DC are my favorite Sonya's in Mortal Kombat. Then you got John Parrish returning as Jax in this game. Richard DeBizio returning as Kano and playing Cabal, who I think is much cooler. He's more famously known for Kano and Quan Chi, but I think Cabal was his coolest character. Then you got I keep forgetting the name of Sindel's actor, but she's awesome. She also plays Serena in Mythology Sub-Zero. The action adventure game. Then you got Conan O'Brien, O'Brien, something like that. His last name is O'Brien, portraying Stryker, and Botaro is stop motion, and Brian Glenn returns as Shao Kahn. So those are all the actors and actresses in Mortal Kombat 3. Next you got improvised graphics while still being 2D characters. Instead of 2D characters recorded over a hand-drawn background, you got 2D characters recorded over almost 3D. This game is digitized and almost 3D like. Love the levels. You have since this is a post-apocalyptic interdimensional war. You got cities, banks, the bridge which we're on now. The church cathedral where Sindel is resurrected, the Shao Kahn's palace, and the Pit 3, one of the scariest levels in the game, and the rooftop battle where the final battle between Liu Kang and Khan takes place, and the battle between Sonya and Kano takes place. And Lee Wong portrays he portrays Liu Kang. I like Ho-Sam Pak better, but Eddie Wong was a great replacement. I keep forgetting the name of the actor who portrays Kung Lao, but he returns from the previous game too. Then you got awesome music, with my favorite being the bridge song, the dun 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 dun, that song. Then the Palace and Pit 3 song, which is playing in the background now, but you probably can't hear it because I have the cartoon playing in the background too. The dun 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 dun, which sounds just like hell. Then the upbeat hip hop street lingo, the dun 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 dun, that also plays during the credits. Then the that plays in the intro, in the storyboard intro cutscenes. And yeah, I like the cutscenes. Well, I wish this game would have had a comic book just like the previous one. The previous two. In Mortal Kombat 4, I do like the upgraded I do like the cool cutscenes, and I hate that they had to get rid of them in the updates. Like I said, this is my favorite and best one of the three. The storyline is much more consistent, despite the poor story structure and the quote unquote it's the most consistent. It's the most consistent. And it's the easiest to play. I can actually beat the master difficulty, but only with Sub-Zero and only with Sub-Zero can I do that. Only with Sub-Zero and Shang Tsung and Sindel can I beat the master. Can I beat the master level? So and the Lin Kuei Cybers. Those are the only people I can beat the master. I can beat the quote unquote master level with. My difficulty is medium, which is warrior. That's my limit in this game. The last thing I didn't like about this game, the biggest sin, is the same as the previous. It's the same as the previous two. You have an awesome storyline, but you have no story mode or quest mode to tell this awesome storyline. And that's the biggest problem I have. That's the only problem I have with this awesome game right here. That and while this version is the easiest of the three, alongside Mortal Kombat 1 and the PlayStation version of Trilogy. This game right here is brutal. It is brutal on a beginner and novice player. It has no mercy on beginner and novice players. And unless you're a huge fan of Mortal Kombat, you're not going to sit here all day playing this hard tournament, quote unquote tournament ladder. Now I can understand the first two Mortal Kombat games not having this, because those were tournaments, but this one right here, especially because this wasn't a tournament. This was an action. This was an action adventure, interdimensional warfare, post-apocalyptic style of plot. So yes, have the cool tournament mode where you play as everyone, but have a quest mode where you have a quest beat 'em up mode where you play as the main characters and fight the bad guys. And this is something they would not get until Mortal Kombat 6 and 7. This is a problem they would not correct until 6 and 7. I like all of the cool storyboard endings. Wish they had more cutscenes during the tournament, not only at the beginning and end of the game, but during the tournament ladder. But Mortal Kombat 3, an awesome game. Now let's talk about its cartoon, Defenders of the Realm. Defenders of the Realm, which you can hear in the background. Defenders of the Realm was released in September 1996. I think ended in November or December of 96 of that same year. After it was canceled after 13 episodes, when USA got rid of its Cartoon Express block, and they're back to back with the Street Fighter animated series, and it was even in was even supposed to be part of a supposed 4-part crossover between that cartoon, the Street Fighter cartoon, the Image Comics Savage Dragon cartoon, and the video game Wing Commander. But these shows were canceled before that could happen, because they each featured a Thor time-traveling warrior called the Warrior King, going from dimension to dimension, retrieving an orb that had mysterious effects. In each episode it was featured in. Then you have the cartoon itself. The cartoon itself has a mixed to negative reception that persists to this day. It's bashed heavily, which I hate, bashed heavily and unfairly by several game sites like Game Radar and many more for dumb reasons. It was hated by a lot of hardcore Mortal Kombat fans for lacking the hardcore violent content. But like I've said in plenty of reviews of this cartoon, I think it's the best adaptation of Mortal Kombat outside of its video game and comic book tie-in counterpart. It is the best with the movies Conquest and Malibu Comics, the spin-off comic book series. being second, third, and fourth best. But this was the best. This was the closest to the Mortal Kombat lore. Mortal Kombat, I'm going to talk about the censorship already. Let's get it out the way already. Mortal Kombat, the censorship never bothered me. Never bothered me because, if you quote unquote know, if you quote unquote know Mortal Kombat, then you know, if you know the backstory of Mortal Kombat, you know all of the fatalities, all of the violence you saw didn't happen in the game. They were just for enjoyment of the viewer. To this day, people still don't understand that the violence and stuff that are on themes. In the first Mortal Kombat, the only characters to die were a bunch of cannon fodder and red shirt guys who appear in the prequel comic but do not appear in the game, and quote unquote Sub-Zero, who was killed by Scorpion after the battle. In Mortal Kombat 2, the only person that died was Melina, who Kitana chopped her head off. And even characters who do die, they always find a way to come back. Later. Then you got Mortal Kombat 3, the darkest of the three. Nobody in this game died, I think, except for Shiva. And I'm actually confused on whether she actually died or was just in prison. Well, anyway, yeah, Mortal Kombat 3, what I'm playing now, this was the darkest of the original of the three, and no one died. The next one, Mortal Kombat 4, that game was even darker and nobody died. Well, Shinnok, he got a fate worse than death, and that was being banished back to the Nether Realm. So, yeah, that's why it never bothered me. And next, the good guys, Liu Kang and the Realm of Earth from Mortal Kombat 1 through 4, they always quote unquote triumph over evil. They always triumph. They beat Shao Kahn, Shang Tsung, Motaro, Goro, Kintaro, Shinnok, Quan Chi, and his NetherRealm army. It wasn't until Mortal Kombat 5, the Deadly Alliance of Quan Chi and Shang Tsung, where the bad guys started winning. And then once again, in the next game, Deception, Shinjiko, and the characters who survived the battle against the Deadly Alliance or didn't participate, set everything right again. And the good guys triumphed again. And in the original timeline, the original script for Mortal Kombat Armageddon, and in an alternate timeline, Taven defeated the fire god Blaze and prevented Armageddon. This cartoon is based upon Mortal Kombat's 3, 2 with elements of 4. Yes, even 4. This cartoon was aired before Mortal Kombat 4 was released and aired while Mortal Kombat 4 was being produced. I keep forgetting this cartoon provided the debut of popular villain Quan Chi. He made his debut in this cartoon, except for instead of a connection with the Lin Kuei, Scorpion, and Sub-Zero, he instead has a connection and is beefing with Nightwolf in his cartoon, as it is Nightwolf who saves the day from him in this cartoon. But and there was this episode never got produced, but there was supposed to be an episode focusing on Shinnok, the fallen elder god's fall from grace. That was supposed to take place in this cartoon, but the cartoon was canceled before that episode can air. So that's where the Mortal Kombat 4 stuff comes from. Also, Scorpion and the ninjas, characters who appear here, look like they're Mortal Kombat their Mortal Kombat 3 and 4 counterparts. Then, like Mortal Kombat 2, characters like Kitana and half of Sonya Blade's costume and Liu Kang's costume are their Mortal Kombat 2 costumes. Mortal Kombat 2 costumes. One episode even features Jax as a tribute to Mortal Kombat 2 fighting without his arms, without his cybernetic arms. And also this cartoon, even though it's based upon Mortal Kombat 3, Shao Kahn hasn't invaded Earth yet. Instead, he uses other warriors to invade and conquer Earthbound for him. Because he lost in the previous movie. Yeah, this cartoon also follows the 1995 Mortal Kombat movie. It serves as an alternate sequel, while Annihilation, the sequel to Mortal Kombat 1995, ignores this cartoon entirely. And like Mortal Kombat 2, Shang Tsung, Shao Kahn, Shang Tsung, lures the Earthrealmers to Outworld by unleashing Tarkatan Horde onto Liu Kang's village, back to Outworld for a new tournament where the characters will meet certain death for Shao Kahn. That's pretty much the plot here. They even Shao Kahn numerous times tries to lead them into Outworld to leave Earthrealm in their base unguarded. So yeah, so even though it's Mortal Kombat 3, they have the character designs and storylines from Mortal Kombat 3 and characters from Mortal Kombat 3. It utilizes elements of Mortal Kombat 2. Characters like Johnny Cage, Kung Lao, Sindel are never even seen here. The only thing I didn't like about this cartoon, they never even mentioned. I think they were saving Sindel for season 2. But I hate that Johnny Cage, who was a main character in the first movie, which this cartoon follows, was not even mentioned. Was not even mentioned in this cartoon. I can understand him not being part of the team. He's a full-time actor. Stryker makes more sense as an Earthrealm defender than Johnny Cage. So for people who are mad that Stryker replaces Johnny Cage, he makes more sense as an Earthrealm protector than Johnny Cage does. And Kung Lao, I hate the fact that he's never. But he's never seen. But I wonder, does he even exist at this time? Like, they seem to have combined Kung Lao with Liu Kang's character. In the games, it seems only Kung Lao is the ancestor of the great Kung Lao. But I always thought, and in the movie, Liu Kang is. So it's like they combined the two. In the movies, if you watch both the movies, Liu Kang, he wears an outfit vastly similar to Kung Lao's. The only thing similar to Liu Kang is the shirtless attire he transforms into at the end of the movie. But yeah. Then you got who else is in this cartoon? So yeah, characters featured here are Liu Kang, Cabal, Stryker, Sub-Zero, Nightwolf, Sonya, Jax, Raiden, Kitana, the Lin Kuei Cybers, Ermac, Rain, Reptile, even though for some reason he's named Cobra. Oh yeah, actually someone representing Reptile is here because Reptile was killed off in the first movie. Comadai and the Raptors are featured here. Then you got Baraka and the Tarkatan Hordes, except they're called Nomads here. They weren't known as Tarkatan earlier on. And for some odd reason, Baraka is called Carbarak for some odd reason. I don't know why they didn't just call him Baraka. I could understand Reptile because he was killed off in the first movie, but Baraka wasn't in the first movie. So why don't we just call him Baraka? Motaro and the Centaur, Shiva and the Shao Kahn, Kano and the Black Dragon, and even new characters like Hideyoshi, Sara, and Ruby, who is a replacement for Jade and a prototype of the Adenian trader Tanya from Mortal Kombat 4. Belina was also not seen here, but I never really cared much for her. She's an okay character, but never really cared much for her. And Shao Kahn's priest and Shang Tsung also appear. Shang Tsung is resurrected and stars in 2 episodes of this cartoon and appears in 1 as a flashback, so he appears in 3 episodes. The younger Sub-Zero, the older Sub-Zero appears in a flashback. So that's all the characters in this awesome cartoon. Other original characters in this cartoon includes a giant Birdman warrior Asgard, and of course I mentioned earlier, the Warrior King. Favorite episodes. Episode 1, where Sub-Zero joins the team. And earns their trust by defeating Carbarak and his Tarkat and Horde. And before that, the characters do battle with Sector and Sector Cyrax and the Lin Kuei Cybers, with Kitana defeating Sector and Sub-Zero debuting and assisting them to the dismay of Sonya, who doesn't trust him, and that's pretty much the plot of this episode. Followed by episode 4. I like all the episodes, but the best episodes are that one. Episode 4, where the Adenian trader Rain debuts, and he at first pretends to be their friend, but during a huge battle with some Lin Kuei Cybers, kidnaps Kitana and leaves her prisoner, guarded by some ant-eater monster who breathes fire that Liu Kang easily defeats with a Chi Blast. Quickly defeats with a Chi Blast. Motaro and the Centaur also make their debuts here, but they're quickly defeated by Stryker and Liu Kang. Episode 5, which is widely considered the best episode of the series, Friends Never Die, which adapts Sub-Zero's storyline, where Sub-Zero and Smoke in flashback escape the Lin Kuei. Sub-Zero escapes, but Smoke stays behind and is caught by the Lin Kuei Elder Oniru and automated and transformed into a cyborg and forced to hunt down Sub-Zero. Sub-Zero confronts him, makes him remember his vow, and Smoke honors their vow, but because Sub-Zero is no longer part of the Lin Kuei, they can no longer be friends, but does save him from a Nero twice. And helps him defeat Oniru, Sector, and Cyrax. However, the reprogramming of Cyrax does not take place here. Episode 6, the episode you hear in the background right now, where Kano sends the Mortal Kombat characters on a wild goose chase all over the realm, and everyone thinks it's Nightwolf screwing up, and it's Nightwolf screwing up, but it turns out it was Kano opening false rips everywhere, and Nightwolf, in order to redeem himself, goes on a mission with the combat gang and assists in defeating Kano and some mummy warriors, but Kano escapes. This adapts the Kano and Sonya storyline continuation from Mortal Kombat 1, where in Mortal Kombat 1995, the movie, where Sonya killed Kano, but it's revealed that Shao Kahn brought Kano back to life, and adapts the Mortal Kombat 3 storyline, where they have their final confrontation in the series, where Sonya tosses Kano off to his route to his apparent death, but he's rescued and healed by Motaro in prison, beginning his storyline with Shiva. Then Mortal Kombat 8, the sequel of Quan Chi, the debut of Quan Chi, where Quan Chi, during a mission, poses as a warrior, gives them a mysterious orb called the Orb of Zatori. The Orb of Zatori, and the orb causes the Mortal Kombat characters to become angry and aggressive and fight each other, but Nightwolf manages to destroy the orb, and Quan Chi turns into a snake, fights them, and retreats. This was the debut of Quan Chi, who was a stand-in for Shang Tsung, who in the next episode, my next favorite and best episode, episode 9, where Shang Tsung is resurrected by Shao Kahn and then hilariously slapped for his failure in the first Mortal Kombat movie. Shao Kahn tasks him with giving him a mysterious orb that controls nature, and he traps the combatants, every combatant with the exception of Jax and Raiden in a canyon, and the orb affects Raiden's powers. And Raiden, in his episode, fights in one of the best fights in the series, fights and defeats Shang Tsung without his powers, and rescues everyone, and knocks Shang Tsung back in the portal and tosses the portal into the Street Fighter universe. And the Warrior King from the Street Fighter universe goes and chases it. This was that 4-part Street Fighter, Savage Dragon, Mortal Kombat, and Wing Commander crossover I was talking about. Then you got episode 11, Cabal's episode, where he is horribly betrayed by the Black Dragon and sneaking underground and befriends Sonya and helps the combatants defeat the Black Dragon, destroy their base in this episode. Episode 12. This is Ermac's debut episode, where Jax retires from the team due to the death of his grandfather and plans to retire somewhere with a woman named Ruby, who is actually an agent for Shao Kahn, and they are ambushed by Ermac, and Jax is taken prisoner. Ermac and his ninjas, and Jax is taken prisoner. The combat game eventually rescues them, and Ruby reforms and helps them escape, but stays in Outworld to liberate her people from Shao Kahn. And then they fight. And then the episode ends with Jax realizing that retiring from the team is not the answer, and that continuing the battle, preventing Earthbound from falling into Shao Kahn's grasp is the answer, and returns to the team. Episode 13 is the grand finale, which featured better animation, better updated animation than the previous episodes did. They went out with a bang. This was a giant battle with Nightwolf having Shang Tsung pose as Shiva to convince Kitana and Liu Kang of a secret rebellion to overthrow Shao Kahn. It's just a ploy to lure Earthbound's warriors into Outworld and Raiden, where Raiden is powerless, and then defeat them there and then conquer Earthbound. It really works, but Raiden manages to get the Centaur and Shao Kahn to turn on Shang Tsung, who chases off Shao Kahn with a fire blast, with a flaming skull, and the rebellion is a bust, but the combatants are barely able to fight their way and escape back to Earthbound, setting the stage for what I think would have been Mortal Kombat 3. Now, I think this cartoon would have been finished by the time Deadly Alliance and Deception rolled around, but it would have been cool to see those storylines adapted to. I'm pretty sure seasons 3 and 4 would have been Mortal Kombat 3, the actual resurrection of Sindel and invasion of Earthbound by Shao Kahn, and quote unquote the invasion of Shao Kahn in every storyline, the resolution to every storyline that was introduced in Defenders of the Realm would have been resolved in seasons 2, and I think seasons 3 would have been Shinnok, Quan Chi, and the Netherrealm Army. And I think the show would have been. I highly doubt they would have killed off Liu Kang, but it would have been cool to see the Deadly Alliance, Deception, and Armageddon, especially Deception, the best Mortal Kombat storyline, adapted into cartoon form. Actors, oh yeah, despite being a low-budget video game-based cartoon, it had some awesome animation. The cartoon was vastly similar to the Marvel and DC cartoons of the 90s, and even a predecessor to the early 2000s. The Japanese animation, Dragon Ball Z, and the Street Fighter 2 animated the revolutionary Street Fighter 2 animated movie, and of course G.I. Joe. Yeah, and despite being what some would say is a low budget cartoon, not only did it have great animation, but it also had an awesome cast of actors and actresses. You had the likes of Clancy Brown as Raiden, the late Luke Perry as Sub-Zero. That voice actually fits Sub-Zero in this cartoon. The late great Luke Perry, who passed away last year, and Brian Toichi from Revenge of the Nerds as Liu Kang, Cree Summers as Kitana, Olivia Abo, I think that's her name, that's Sonya Blade, Dorian Harewood as Jax, legendary actor Ron Perlman as Stryker, and I think Neil Ross and Neil Harris portrays Nightwolf, and Clancy Brown, I think I mentioned already, portrays Raiden. And Kevin Michael Richardson, who portrayed Goro in the first movie, does the voice for Cabal here. So, yeah, this was my review of Defenders of the Realm, one of the greatest cartoons, one of the greatest video game cartoons and Saturday morning action cartoons of all time. It's always top of the list on my favorite cartoons. And it's been reviewed multiple times on this on both of my channels. If you want to hear the rest of the music and see the rest of this gameplay, turn the video off right now.